My dear son, my dear daughter, come, draw near to me. Today, in this sacred moment that precedes rest, I want to share something very special with you. It is I, Jesus, the one who knows every beat of your heart, every thought that troubles you, every tear you have shed on nights when sleep seems so distant. I know you have arrived here carrying the weight of the day, perhaps with your mind still agitated, with worries that insist on dancing in your thoughts like leaves in the wind. I know there are nights when you close your eyes and rest does not come, when your pillow becomes witness to your anxieties and the silence of dawn amplifies the echoes of your anguish. But I am here, right beside you. I have not come to judge your difficulties or minimize your pain. I have come to envelop you with my peace, that which surpasses all understanding. I have come to tell you about a very special place, a secret garden where I plant seeds of tranquility and where every wounded soul can find the balm it needs. This garden does not exist only in distant heavens. It is here, now available to you. It is a place where time moves slowly, where each of your breaths synchronizes with the eternal rhythm of divine love, where your worries dissolve like morning mist before the first rays of the sun. Today, I want to take you with me on this gentle journey through the paths of this sacred garden. You need do nothing but allow my voice to guide you, as a shepherd leads his sheep to green pastures and waters of rest. Allow your eyelids to become heavy, your breathing to become deep and serene. As we walk together through this story, I want you to know that you are not alone. You never have been. In every moment of insomnia, I was there, weaving dreams of hope in your heart. In every difficult night, I was the gentle breeze that touched your face, even when you didn't notice. In this special garden, I will show you. There is a place prepared especially for you, where you can lay down all burdens, where your soul can finally exhale all accumulated tension. It is a place where healing happens silently, where every beat of your heart aligns with the pulse of the universe created by love. So breathe deeply with me now. Inhale the peace I offer you. Exhale all the worries you carry. We are about to enter this sacred garden where time and eternity meet, where the finite touches the infinite, where your weary soul can finally find the rest it seeks so much. Come, my beloved, take my hand and allow me to lead you through the flowered paths of this story that is also your story, our story of eternal love. When I began walking through the valleys and hills of Galilee, I carried in my heart the dream of a special place. It was not just an ordinary garden, but a sanctuary where every soul could find what it needed most: true peace. This place was born first in my heart, even before being planted in the earth. I remember the first time I stepped on this soil chosen by my Father. It was a golden morning when dew still kissed every leaf and every petal seemed to whisper praises to the Creator. The land stretched gently between small hills, protected by ancient olive trees that seemed like silent guardians of this sacred space. As I approached the place where the gates of this garden would be, I felt a deep emotion take hold of my being. They were not gates made of iron or wood, but formed by two palm trees that grew naturally, their crowns intertwining above like hands joined in prayer. Between them, only a gentle, inviting opening that seemed to whisper, "Come, weary soul. Here you will find rest." It was there, before those natural gates, that I knelt and spoke at length with my Father about this project of the heart. "Father," I said, "may this place be a refuge for all who carry heavy burdens. May every person who crosses these gates immediately feel they have arrived home, that they have found the place where their soul can finally breathe." And the Father responded, through the gentle wind that swayed the palm trees, through the song of birds that approached without fear, through the golden butterfly that came to rest on my outstretched hand. It was his approval, his blessing upon this garden that would be planted with infinite love. I then began to work, not in haste, but with the patience of one who knows that the most beautiful things are born slowly. Each stone was placed with care, each seed planted with prayer. The stones of the main path were chosen one by one, smooth and welcoming so that no foot would be hurt. When walking for the first time in this place, the first flower bed I prepared was dedicated to the white roses of peace. I dug the earth with my own hands, mixing it with tears of joy. For I knew that from there would sprout flowers capable of perfuming dreams and calming restless hearts. Each rose I planted carried an intention, that it be balm for wounded souls, that it be perfume for nights of insomnia, that it be constant reminder that there is beauty even amid difficulties. Soon after, I prepared a small stream that would cross the entire garden. It was not ordinary water, but water that carried special properties. Whoever drank from it or simply heard its gentle murmur would feel a deep tranquility spreading through their chest, as if each drop carried with it a fragment of heavenly peace. The fruit trees were planted with special care. The fig tree of wisdom, whose fruits would nourish not only the body, but bring mental clarity for difficult decisions. The pomegranate tree of hope, whose red seeds were like small hearts, pulsing with the certainty that better days will always come. The orange tree of joy, whose flower perfume had the power to awaken smiles even on the most melancholy faces. Every corner of this garden was designed for a specific type of need. There was the grove of silence, where the leaves of the trees filtered even the noises of the outside world, creating an atmosphere of deep peace. There was the valley of blessed tears, where those who needed to cry could do so freely, knowing that each tear would be transformed into fertilizer for new flowers. And there was also the Mount of Contemplation, a small elevation from where one could see the entire garden and, more importantly, where one could look within oneself and find answers that the heart already knew, but that the mind had not yet discovered. But the most special thing of all was that this garden grew according to the love it received. The more people came seeking peace, the more flowers bloomed. The more hearts found healing, the more fruits ripened on the trees. It was a living garden that breathed along with each visitor, that rejoiced with each conquered smile and saddened with each pain that arrived. When the gates were ready, when the first ray of sun crossed through the intertwined crowns of the palm trees and illuminated the main path, I knew that my Father had blessed every detail of this place. And then I whispered a prayer that still echoes among the flowers. May everyone who crosses these gates find more than they seek. May they find what their heart didn't even know it needed. And so, my dear one, the gates of the sacred garden have opened for you too. In this moment, as your breathing becomes slower and deeper, you can feel the gentle breeze that comes from this special place, touching your face with infinite tenderness. After crossing the sacred gates, I walked slowly along the first path I had prepared with so much love. It was made of special stones, which I had collected during my wanderings through the mountains of Galilee. They were not ordinary stones, but each one carried a story, a unique property that I discovered through prayer and careful observation of my Father's creation. The first stone of the path was blue like the purest sky, and I found it near the Sea of Galilee, polished by the waves for decades. When I first touched it, I felt a deep peace spreading throughout my being. It was the stone of initial serenity, the one that every visitor would touch when taking their first steps in the garden. Whoever stepped on it would immediately feel their shoulders relax, as if an invisible weight were gently removed. Walking a little further, I had placed the stone of tranquil breathing. It was white as snow, with small golden veins that seemed to pulse softly when someone approached. This stone had the special power to synchronize the breathing of whoever passed over it with the natural rhythm of divine peace. How many times I saw people arrive breathless, with hearts racing from anxiety, and upon stepping on this stone, automatically begin to breathe more deeply and serenely. The third stone was my personal favorite, the stone of thought, liberation. It was crystalline, almost transparent, and reflected light in a soft and comforting way. When someone walked over it, all repetitive thoughts, all worries that spun in circles in the mind, simply dissolved like snow in the sun. It was as if the mind finally found the switch that turned off the constant noise of problems. Further ahead, I had positioned a stone of renewed trust. It was green like the youngest leaves of spring, and emanated an energy that strengthened the heart. People who came to the garden carrying deep fears, doubts about the future, uncertainties about their own capabilities, upon stepping on this stone, felt a quiet strength rise within them. It wasn't an aggressive or anxious strength, but a serene confidence that everything would happen according to divine will. The fifth stone was special for those who arrived with physical pain. It was smooth and warm, always maintaining a pleasant temperature, regardless of the surrounding climate. I called it the Stone of Gentle Healing. Whoever walked on it felt a wave of relief spreading through their body, starting from the feet, and rising slowly, taking away headaches, muscle tensions, and that feeling of tiredness that sometimes seems endless. Then came the Stone of Inner Reconciliation. It was pink like sunrise, and had the most delicate property of all. It helped people forgive themselves, make peace with themselves. How many wounded souls I saw healed themselves when passing over this stone, leaving behind old guilts, regrets they had carried for years, severe criticisms they made of themselves. The seventh stone was golden like honey, and I called it the Stone of Rediscovered Gratitude. Even in the most difficult moments, when there seemed to be nothing to be grateful for, this stone awakened in the heart a gentle memory of the small blessings that are always present: the air we breathe, the heart that beats, the sun that rises each day, the love that exists even when we don't perceive it clearly. In the middle of the path, there was a stone slightly larger than the others. It was of a soft violet tone, and emanated a very faint light that was only perceived when one was really needing guidance. It was the Stone of Silent Wisdom. It didn't give answers through words or complex thoughts, but awakened in the person a deep and simple understanding about what really mattered in their life. The ninth stone had a property that always moved me to observe. It was black like the deepest night, but shone inside with small stars. I called it the Stone of Unshakable Hope. People who arrived at the garden feeling they had lost all hope, who no longer saw light at the end of the tunnel, upon stepping on this stone felt a gentle but firm certainty lighting up in their heart. Everything passes, everything transforms, and better days are always being prepared by loving hands. The last stone of the first path was special in a unique way. It changed color according to each person's need. Sometimes it was blue to bring calm, sometimes golden to awaken joy, sometimes green to strengthen hope. It was the stone of personalized blessing, which offered exactly what each heart most needed. At that specific moment, I remember a special night when a woman arrived at the garden carrying years of insomnia and anxiety. She had tried everything, but sleep seemed to have forgotten her. When she began walking on the stones of serenity, I saw her expression gradually changing. With each step, her breathing became deeper, her shoulders relaxed a little more. Upon reaching the stone of thought liberation, she stopped and sighed deeply. It was as if all the worries that swirled in her mind had finally found an exit. When she stepped on the stone of renewed trust, her eyes filled with tears, but they were tears of relief. And when she passed over the last stone, the one of personalized blessing, it became a soft lilac tone, enveloping her in an aura of deep peace. That night, she slept for the first time in months, a restorative and tranquil sleep. And when she woke up, not only rested but transformed, I knew that the stones of the first path had fulfilled their divine purpose. Each stone of this path was placed with a specific prayer, blessed with tears of compassion for all who would come seeking peace. And the most beautiful thing is that these stones never wear out, never lose their properties. On the contrary, the more people pass over them, the more powerful they become, because they feed on the love and gratitude of each soul that finds healing by walking on them. And now, my dear son, my dear daughter, as your mind quiets and your body relaxes deeply, you can feel as if you too were walking over these sacred stones, feeling all the peace they offer, spreading gently throughout your entire being. After walking on the stones of serenity, the first path opened into a wide and welcoming clearing, where I had created the heart of the garden, a circular space full of special flowers, each with unique healing properties. They were not only beautiful to the eyes, but carried in their petals, in their perfumes, in their colors, the power to heal different types of soul pain. In the center of this clearing, I planted the most special rose of all, the rose of deep peace. It was of such pure white that it almost seemed translucent, and its petals were softer than silk. But what made it truly special was its unique property. Its perfume had the power to instantly calm any type of mental agitation. When someone approached it and breathed its gentle aroma, they felt a deep tranquility spreading through their chest, as if all worries simply dissolved in the air. This special rose never withered, never lost its petals. On the contrary, it grew and became more fragrant as more people found peace through it. It was as if it fed on the very healing it provided, becoming increasingly powerful in its ability to bring serenity around the rose of deep peace. I created concentric circles with different types of flowers, each specialized in a specific type of healing. In the first circle, I planted the violets of trust. They were small and delicate, of a soft purple that reminded one of the sky at twilight. Their discreet perfume had the property of strengthening self-esteem and dispelling doubts about oneself. People who came to the garden feeling inadequate, insecure about their capabilities, upon breathing the aroma of the violets, felt a gentle strength growing within them, a soft certainty that they were loved and valuable exactly as they were. In the second circle, my garden of carnations of hope bloomed. They were of a vibrant red, but not aggressive, a red that warmed the heart like the fire of a fireplace on a cold night. These carnations had the special gift of reviving hope even in the most discouraged hearts. Their sweet and enveloping perfume awakened in the person the memory that there is always a new chance, always a new dawn waiting, always a reason to keep walking. The third circle was dedicated to the daisies of simplicity. White with golden centers, they represented the beauty of life's simple things. Their clean and fresh perfume had the power to help people find joy in small things. The song of a bird, a child's smile, the warmth of sun on skin, the taste of fresh water when thirsty. How many times I saw overly complicated people find in the daisies of simplicity the key to a more genuine and lasting happiness. In the fourth circle, the sunflowers of gratitude grew. Even at night, they kept their faces turned upward, as if always looking for reasons to be grateful. Their golden perfume, yes, there were perfumes that had color in this special garden, awakened in the heart a wave of recognition for all the blessings present in life, even those that went unnoticed in daily life. The fifth circle was the most delicate of all, the flowers of forgiveness. They were of various colors, white, pink, lilac, and changed tone according to the type of forgiveness the person most needed. Sometimes they became blue to help with self-forgiveness, other times golden to facilitate forgiveness of others, and sometimes silver for those more difficult cases, where it was necessary to forgive situations that seemed unforgivable. But there was a special corner in this garden of healing flowers that always filled me with particular emotion. It was the bed of orchids of restorative sleep. These unique flowers only opened their petals at dusk, releasing a perfume that had the power to calm even the most persistent insomnia. Their gentle aroma carried properties that deeply relaxed the nervous system, preparing body and mind for truly restorative rest. The orchids of restorative sleep were of a very soft lilac, almost transparent, and their petals seemed to glow with their own light when night approached. Whoever spent the night in the garden, lying near these special flowers, not only slept deeply, but woke with a feeling of complete renewal, as if they had drunk directly from the fountain of youth. I remember a special afternoon when a man arrived at the garden carrying very deep sadness. He had lost someone very dear and couldn't find comfort anywhere. His pain was so intense that it seemed to have created a barrier around him, preventing any attempt at comfort from reaching his heart. When he entered the garden of healing flowers, initially he felt nothing. He walked through the circles of flowers as if he were in a separate world, isolated in his pain. But when he approached the flowers of forgiveness, in this case, they became a very soft blue. Something began to happen. First, he felt a slight decrease in the weight he carried in his chest. Then, breathing more deeply the perfume of the flowers, he began to perceive that perhaps he could forgive himself for all the things he hadn't said, for all the lost opportunities, for all the if only that tormented his thoughts. When he finally reached the rose of deep peace in the center of the garden, he knelt and cried as he hadn't cried in months. But they weren't tears of despair. They were tears of relief, of liberation. The perfume of the special rose enveloped him like a divine embrace, and for the first time since the loss, he felt it was possible to continue living, that it was possible to honor the memory of the departed through his own healing and growth. He spent the night in the garden, lying among the orchids of restorative sleep, and in the morning woke transformed. Not that his pain had completely disappeared. Some pains are part of the process of love and growth, but it had transformed into something gentler, more integrable into his new reality. Each flower in this special garden had been planted with tears of compassion and watered with prayers of healing. They grew not only from the earth, but from the infinite love I felt for each soul that would come seeking relief for their pain. And the most beautiful thing of all was to see how the flowers themselves rejoiced when they managed to help someone. Their colors became more vibrant, their perfumes more intense, as if they too felt the joy of participating in the healing process. In this garden of healing flowers, time and space functioned differently. An hour spent among the flowers could heal wounds of years, and a perfume breathed with faith could bring transformations that lasted forever. It was a place where the impossible became natural, where healing happened gently but deeply, where each soul found exactly the type of flower it most needed to heal. And now, my dear one, as your breathing becomes increasingly tranquil and deep, you can feel as if these healing perfumes were reaching you, enveloping you with their fragrance of peace and healing, preparing your body and soul for the restorative rest you so deserve. Leaving the garden of healing flowers, a small path shaded by fruit trees led to the place. I consider the beating heart of the entire sacred garden, the fountain of living water. It was not an ordinary fountain, but a special spring that flowed directly from my Father's love, carrying properties that transcended any human understanding. The first time I saw this water spring from the earth was a moment that remains engraved in my soul with crystalline details. I had spent 3 days in fasting and prayer, asking the Father to bless this garden with something that could quench not only physical thirst, but especially the thirst of the soul. On the 3rd day, at dawn, I felt the ground tremble gently under my feet. And then I saw the earth open delicately, like a flower blooming in slow motion. The water that began to spring was more crystalline than any I had ever seen. It was not merely transparent, it had a special quality of clarity that seemed to reflect not only the light of the sun, but also the light of heaven itself. When the first rays of morning touched its surface, it shone with all the colors of the rainbow, as if it carried within itself all the beauty of creation. But the most impressive thing was not its appearance, but its properties. When I approached and drank from the fountain for the first time, I felt something I had never experienced before. The water not only quenched my physical thirst, but seemed to reach places within me that I didn't even know were thirsty. It was as if every cell in my body, every fiber of my soul, sighed with relief and gratitude. Around the fountain, I built a small circle of white stones, each one specially chosen to amplify the healing properties of the water. They were not large or imposing stones, but small and welcoming ones, inviting people to sit and drink calmly, unhurried, savoring each sip as if it were the first and the last dot. The water from this special fountain had different effects depending on the need of whoever drank it. For those who arrived with anxiety, it brought a deep calm that spread through the body like gentle waves. For those who came with sadness, it awakened a serene joy that did not deny the pain, but transformed it into wisdom. For those who arrived with fear, it instilled courage, not the aggressive courage of one who wants to fight, but the quiet courage of one who trusts. I especially remember a woman who came to the fountain on a full moon night. She had been suffering from insomnia for months, and her eyes carried that deep exhaustion of one who cannot truly rest. Her hands trembled slightly when she approached the fountain, and I could feel all the tension she carried in her body. When she drank the first sip of the special water, her eyes widened in surprise. "It's as if the water were warm and cool at the same time," she whispered, more to herself than to me. At the second sip, her shoulders visibly relaxed. At the third, her hands stopped trembling. And when she drank for the fourth time, her eyelids began to grow heavy in a way that hadn't happened for a long time. She leaned back against the stones around the fountain and, for the first time in months, fell asleep naturally, without medications, without internal struggles, without that anguish that always accompanied her attempts to sleep. And it was not just any sleep. It was deep, restorative sleep. full of peaceful dreams that brought healing to places in her soul that she didn't even know were wounded. The fountain had other special properties as well. Its water never froze, even on the coldest nights, and never became too warm, even under the midday sun. It was always at the perfect temperature for whoever came to drink it, and it had a unique taste. It was neither sweet nor salty, neither acidic nor bitter. It was simply the taste of purity, of life, of liquid love. Some people came to the fountain seeking healing for physical ailments, and frequently found relief. But more commonly, they found something even more valuable: healing for the ailments of the soul. Addictions lost their strength before the pure water. Wounded relationships found possibilities for restoration. Impossible forgiveness became not only possible, but natural. There was also a very special aspect of the fountain that I discovered only after a few weeks of observing visitors. The water had the property of awakening forgotten memories, not painful memories that disturb, but memories of moments of love, joy, and peace that had been buried under layers of difficulties and worries. An elderly man who came to the fountain brought with him decades of bitterness over lost opportunities. When he drank the special water, he suddenly remembered a day from his childhood when he had helped an injured bird to fly again. The memory came so vividly that he could feel again the pure joy of that moment, and realized that this capacity for goodness and compassion had always been within him, just waiting to be rediscovered. The fountain also attracted special animals. Small birds of vibrant colors came to drink its water and then sang melodies that seemed to lullaby the soul. Butterflies danced over its surface, creating hypnotic patterns that induced a natural state of deep meditation. And sometimes, on the most peaceful nights, small deer came to the fountain, and their silent presence brought an even deeper peace to all who were nearby. But perhaps the most extraordinary aspect of the fountain of living water was its ability to multiply, not physically. It always remained the same size, but energetically. Each person who drank its water carried within themselves a small interior fountain, a well of peace that would continue to spring within them even after leaving the garden. It was as if the water planted a seed of tranquility in each visitor's heart, a seed that would germinate in moments of greatest need. People who had drunk from the fountain reported that, months later, in moments of great stress or anxiety, they would suddenly feel a familiar calm spreading through their chest, as if they were drinking again from that special water. There were nights when I would sit beside the fountain just to contemplate its beauty and feel its healing energy. The sound of the water springing was like heavenly music, a constant and tranquilizing rhythm that synchronized the heartbeat with the pulse of the universe. It was a sound that naturally induced a state of deep peace, a sound that many people carried in their memory as an interior melody that helped them fall asleep. During these moments of contemplation, I often received visions of all the people the fountain would still help. I saw faces of individuals who had not even been born yet, but who would one day come seeking its healing waters. I saw future moments of healing and transformation, and my heart filled with anticipated joy for all these blessings that were yet to come. The fountain never ceased to flow, never diminished its flow, never lost its properties. It was a truly eternal fountain, fed by my Father's infinite love, a love that never runs out, never tires of giving, never fails to be renewed at every moment. And so, my dear son, my dear daughter, in this moment when your body relaxes completely and your mind becomes quiet, you can feel as if you too were drinking from this special water, feeling its peace spreading gently throughout your entire being, preparing you for deep and restorative rest. Following a narrow trail that bordered the fountain of living water, we arrived at the most mysterious and powerful place in the entire garden, the Grove of Sacred Silence. This was not ordinary silence, the kind that happens simply from the absence of noise. It was a special silence, charged with divine presence, a silence that spoke louder than words and healed, more deeply than any medicine. The trees in this grove were different from all others in the garden. They were tall and majestic, with wide trunks and smooth bark that invited touch. Their leaves had a unique property. They filtered not only light, but also all the noises of the outside world. When someone entered this grove, it was as if an invisible curtain closed around them, isolating them from all distractions and allowing them to finally hear the sound of their own soul. Each tree had been planted with a specific intention. The first, right at the entrance to the grove, was the tree of interior patience. Its branches extended widely and welcomingly, creating a natural canopy that filtered light into golden rays. Those who sat under its shade immediately felt a decrease in anxiety, a renewed ability to wait with tranquility, to live in the present without rushing toward the future. Further on grew the tree of serene acceptance. It was a peculiar tree, as its branches grew in apparently random directions, some upward, others to the sides, some even curving downward. But there was a special beauty in this irregularity, a silent lesson about how true beauty comes from accepting our own unique nature, our own curves and directions of growth. In the heart of the grove stood the most special of all, the tree of divine silence. It was an immense tree with a trunk so wide that 3 people holding hands could barely embrace it. Its trunk was hollow inside, creating a natural cavity where a person could sit completely surrounded by living wood. Within this special cavity, the silence was so profound that one could hear their own heart beating, their own breath flowing, and most importantly, the gentle voice of God speaking in the innermost part of the soul. I remember the first time I entered this sacred cavity. The silence was so complete, so perfect, that it initially caused slight dizziness. But gradually, as my soul became accustomed to this deep peace, I began to hear things I had never perceived before. I heard the sound of my own presence, the gentle murmur of my purest thoughts, and most wonderful of all, I heard my Father's voice speaking directly to my heart without words, only with pure love. There was also the tree of silent understanding, whose roots grew visibly above ground, intertwining in complex and beautiful patterns. Sitting among its roots brought deep understanding about life's mysteries, but not through complex mental explanations. It was an understanding that came from the heart, a wisdom that settled in the soul like quiet certainty. One of the most sought-after trees was the tree of silent forgiveness. Its leaves had a unique silver coloration that changed hues according to the light of day. Under its shade, forgiveness that seemed impossible became not only possible, but inevitable. It was as if the special silence of this tree created a space where pride could not survive, where only love remained. There were also smaller trees, but no less important. The tree of peaceful dreams had leaves that whispered softly, even without wind, creating a sound like a natural lullaby. Those who slept under it had particularly peaceful and restorative dreams. The tree of silent gratitude made people naturally remember all the blessings of their lives, without need for mental effort. Gratitude simply sprang from the heart like water from a fountain. The most extraordinary thing about this grove was how it taught people to listen to interior silence. Many people arrived agitated, accustomed to the constant noise of modern life. unable to remain quiet for more than a few minutes. But the grove had a gradual and gentle effect. First, it calmed external noises. Then, softly, it began to quiet. Internal noises, repetitive thoughts, circular worries, constant mental dialogue. I remember a young man who came to the grove on a summer afternoon, carrying deep anguish about the future. He couldn't stop thinking, planning, worrying. When he entered the grove, initially he felt even more anxious with the silence. But I encouraged him to stay, to give a chance to that peace that frightened him. Gradually, he began to perceive that silence was not empty. It was full of loving presence. He began to distinguish between the frightening silence of loneliness and the welcoming silence of divine company. And when he finally allowed himself to completely immerse in this sacred silence, he discovered that many of his worries were unnecessary, that many of his fears were phantoms created by his own agitated mind. In the grove, time functioned differently. An hour of silence there could bring more rest than an entire night of agitated sleep. Some visitors spent entire days in the grove, moving slowly from tree to tree, discovering different aspects of sacred silence, different forms of peace. There were also special animals in the grove. White rabbits that moved without making noise, birds that flew in complete silence, butterflies that danced without stirring the air. These animals were not mute. They had simply learned to communicate through presence, through a language more subtle than words or sounds. The nights in the grove of sacred silence were particularly magical. The moon filtered through the special leaves, created patterns of light that naturally induced a state of deep meditation. The nocturnal silence was even more powerful, even more healing. Many people discovered that their insomnia was cured simply by spending a few nights sleeping in the grove, cradled by the loving silence that enveloped them like a divine blanket. And now, my dear one, as this sacred silence also envelops you, you can feel how your mind becomes completely quiet, how all unnecessary noises dissolve, leaving only the deep peace that has always been waiting in your heart. Leaving the grove of sacred silence by a gentle trail that descended softly between golden ferns, we arrived at the most enchanting place in the entire garden, the Valley of Golden Dreams. This was a special valley, protected by gentle hills, covered with lavender, where the very air seemed impregnated with tranquil drowsiness, and where the most beautiful dreams came to visit those who needed true rest. The valley had the shape of a natural shell, as if the earth itself had molded to create the perfect cradle for restorative sleep. In the center, there was a circular clearing covered by the softest grass I had ever stepped on. A special grass that grew like small natural cushions, perfectly suited for lying down and relaxing. This grass had unique properties. It was always warm in winter and cool in summer, always maintaining the ideal temperature for comfort. Around the central clearing, I had planted very special trees, the golden dream trees. Their leaves had a unique coloration, a soft gold that shone gently, even in the absence of direct sunlight. During the day, these leaves collected all the solar light and stored it. And when night came, they released this light very subtly, creating a golden and welcoming atmosphere that naturally induced sleep. But the most special thing about these trees was that they literally produced dreams. Not in a magical or fantastical way, but through a very subtle perfume they released during the night. This perfume had components that stimulated the parts of the brain responsible for the most tranquil and restorative dreams. Those who slept under these trees had particularly beautiful dreams. Dreams of peaceful places, of encounters with loved ones, of moments of pure joy and serenity. I remember the first night I spent in the Valley of Golden Dreams. I had worked intensively for weeks, preparing other corners of the garden, and my human body was exhausted. When I lay down on the soft grass, under the golden canopy of the special trees, I immediately felt a sensation of deep embrace, as if the earth itself embraced me with maternal tenderness. That night, I had the most beautiful dream of my entire earthly experience. I dreamed that I was walking hand in hand with my Heavenly Father through gardens even more beautiful than the one I had created. I dreamed of all the souls that would one day find peace in this valley. I dreamed of future moments of healing and transformation. I awoke not only physically rested, but spiritually renewed, with a deep joy that lasted for weeks. The valley had different areas, each specialized in a specific type of rest. There was the corner of inner children, where the trees were smaller, and their golden leaves made a gentle whisper that reminded one of lullabies. Adults who had lost the ability to sleep with tranquility, who carried childhood traumas, or had simply forgotten how to truly relax, found in this corner a reconnection with lost innocence. There was also the area of healing dreams, where the trees had a more intense golden coloration. Those who slept there had dreams that not only relaxed, but healed deep wounds of the soul. These were dreams where they found forgiveness for painful situations, where they received guidance for complex problems, where they made peace with difficult aspects of their lives. One of the most sought-after areas was the haven of reunions, where the trees grew in pairs, their branches intertwining lovingly. Those who slept there frequently dreamed of dear ones who had already departed. Not melancholic or disturbing dreams, but dreams of reconciliation, of loving farewell, of love's continuity beyond the boundaries of physical life. In the valley, there were also special flowers that only opened during the night. These were the flowers of deep sleep, of soft violet coloration, that released a perfume that induced the most restorative sleep possible. But these flowers had their own wisdom. They only released their perfume for those who truly needed to sleep, remaining closed for visitors who came merely out of curiosity. I remember a woman who came to the valley after months of severe insomnia. She was physically exhausted, mentally drained, emotionally fragile. When she lay down on the soft grass, initially she still fought against sleep, as she had become accustomed to doing for so long. But gradually, the special environment of the valley began to work in her favor. The golden leaves began to shine more softly. The flowers of deep sleep opened, releasing their tranquilizing perfume, and a gentle breeze began to blow, carrying with it all the healing aromas of the garden. For the first time in months, she fell asleep naturally, without medications, without struggle, simply surrendering to the peace that enveloped her. That night, she dreamed she was on a golden beach, walking barefoot on warm sand, listening to the rhythmic sound of waves. In the dream, she felt deep peace, a certainty that everything would be well, a renewed trust in life. When she awoke, she had not only slept deeply, but awakened with a sensation of renewal she hadn't experienced in years. The valley also attracted very special nocturnal animals. Golden owls that sang gentle melodies instead of the typical hoots of their species. Small squirrels that moved silently among the trees without disturbing visitors' sleep. And fireflies that danced, creating hypnotic patterns that helped induce states of deep relaxation. There were special nights in the valley. Full moon nights when the silver light mixed with the gold of the leaves, creating an even more magical atmosphere. On these nights, dreams were particularly vivid and meaningful, bringing messages of hope and guidance to those who needed them most. The most beautiful thing about the Valley of Golden Dreams was that it taught people to rediscover the simple pleasure of sleeping. Many arrived seeing sleep as a battle to be won, an inconvenient necessity. But in the valley, they rediscovered sleep as a gift, as a sacred moment of renewal, as a daily opportunity to reconnect with inner peace. And so, my dear son, my dear daughter, as we reach the end of our journey through this sacred garden, you can feel as if you too were in the valley of golden dreams, enveloped by all this peace, all this tranquility, prepared for the most restorative and blessed rest. And so, my beloved, we reach the end of our walk through this special garden that I created with so much love for you. But in truth, this is not an end. It is only the beginning of a new and deeper relationship between us, a permanent invitation that will always be open to your soul. I want you to know that this garden does not exist only in the story I have shared with you. It truly exists in the spiritual realm and is always available to you. Whenever you need peace, whenever anxiety tries to steal your sleep, whenever you feel that the world is too heavy upon your shoulders, you can close your eyes and return to this sacred place. The gates never close for you. The stones of serenity will always be ready to receive your tired steps. The healing flowers will always be perfuming the air with their fragrances of cure. The fountain of living water will always be flowing, ready to quench not only your physical thirst, but especially the thirst of your soul. The grove of sacred silence will always welcome you when you need to hear God's gentle voice in your heart. And the valley of golden dreams will always be prepared to cradle you in dreams of peace and renewal. Remember, you are not alone in this journey of life. I am always with you, walking by your side, offering my hand when the path seems steep, offering my shoulder when you need to rest. This garden is just one of the many ways through which my love manifests in your life. May this night be for you a night of true rest, a night where your body renews and your soul heals. May you awaken tomorrow not only rested, but transformed, carrying in your heart the certainty that you are deeply loved, and that there is always a place of peace waiting for you. Sleep well, my dear one. Sleep in the peace I offer you, in the certainty that I watch over your sleep and bless your dreams. Until we meet again in this sacred garden, where there will always be a special place prepared just for you. And if this story touched your heart, if it brought peace to your soul, perhaps you would want to share this experience with others who also need rest. There are so many people around you who carry the same burdens that you carried before knowing this garden. Think of those who could benefit from this same peace, this same healing dot. May this message of love and tranquility reach every heart that needs it, like golden seeds carried by the gentle wind, finding fertile soil in souls thirsty for peace. Good night, my dear one. May you sleep with Jesus, enveloped by the eternal love that never abandons you.